Hey guys, I'm back with another top 5 video. Sorry for the shadow, but there's just a glare here somehow. But I wanted to show you my top 5 darkest moments in Dr. Seuss. I decided to do this in the middle of October because I'm also doing a show. I'm just doing a show at the Y that is Seussical. So if you're in Wayne, New Jersey, please come see me at the Y where I do our show Seussical, where we do Dr. Seuss books. Now I like to talk about the dark side of Dr. Seuss for a minute. Now, there's a lot of books that Dr. Seuss made over the years, but everyone knows him for his most childish children books that are child friendly and nice. And we all know him for writing books that are great for kids to read and learn how to read with, and many more. I grew up reading all his books when I was a kid. Back when I was little, it was the only books I could read back then. So for that, it has been for most of my life all the time. So remembering most of these books is really a childhood peace of mind. So let's go through some of the darker scenes together. Maybe we'll be braver enough to go through them together. Number 5. What was I so scared of? Now, this book is only a compilation of books. But it's in the Sneetches books. Now, this book in particular, I didn't really know much about. I just knew it was from a book that I never wanted to read. Because, to be fair, when I was a kid, I actually was afraid of this book. As a child, I saw the picture of the pants, because the book is about a pants that come to life, and this kid is like afraid of it. So I was just like this. I was like a kid in the book. I was totally afraid of this pants. I never wanted to see that pants ever again in this book. I was afraid of it. I don't know why. It was just silly because it was just a pair of pants, but it was like walking around and kind of just green, and I had no idea what it was. It was like creepy. And the book, it makes it creepy too. Not only that, but this book, I never realized, it's a glow-in-the-dark book. So when you read it in the dark, it's glowy. And it's like really scary looking. So this book is kind of dark. I was afraid to read this story, but eventually I got a chance to read it. It's actually not that bad of a book. It's basically a book about facing your fears and how you shouldn't be so much afraid of these things. And when they come closer, and when you get to know the pants a bit more, he's actually a nice guy every now and then. So, in the end, it's actually not a bad book to read. I highly recommend it. By the way, if you guys haven't read these Dr. Seuss books yet, there will be spoilers. So if you guys haven't read any of these books yet, you've been warned. You might want to read some of these books. I think they're really good to read before you, see the spoilers. Number 4. The Butter Battle Book. Now, this book is a very interesting one. This one is kind of dark because the book is about, war. Let me explain. Now, this book is basically about a whole group of people, like two groups of people. One likes to butter their bread right upside up. One side likes to do it right upside down. So they get into a war about it, and it's all for all. They fight over each other in the book until at the very end, they explode. Now, I don't know why this happens in the book in particular, but what happens is there's like a big giant wall they build in the book, and once the battle is over, they decide to blow up the entire place with a little singular bomb. I don't think it's a bomb, but they call it something else in the story. It's some kind of bomb at the end or something. I mean, it's supposed to be like a happy ending, I'm assuming, I guess, but you don't really know. At the end, it explodes, and people just say, well, what do you think happened? And I'm supposed to sit there being like, what? What just happened? I mean, I don't know. Dr. Seuss doesn't really tell you at the end. It's just up to your imagination, I guess. But either way, that's what happens. And people are escorted down to the bottom of the burial ground and watch from afar as it goes on, which is crazy to believe. So this whole book is basically a derogatory for war. I think, in a way, Dr. Seuss was kind of telling us how silly it was to fight over something. As you can see, they're fighting over, basically, bread. Fighting over, whatever, it's by our side up or by our side down. It doesn't matter. So, it's a very silly story, but in a way, it's kind of true. war is kind of silly. You shouldn't fight over something. You should get together and compromise with each other instead of fighting about it. Support everybody's differences, and that's what he decided to write in this particular book, which I kind of like a lot. And also, this book is also adapted in the Green Eggs and Ham show, which is also a show you should watch. Go right ahead and watch it. It's super good. I love the season 2 episodes of the show. They talk about this particular story in particular. I like that they put two food Dr. Seuss stories together in one, which is super cool. Number 3, the beginning of the Lorax. I remember watching the Lorax as a cartoon as a little kid, and remember seeing the beginning of it for the very first time, how melancholy it was. I remember being so quiet and sad kind of about it, how it all looked, the wrinkled grass and the dark sedges. I imagine myself being the boy walking around this area and being like, what happened here? And you can really tell that that's what they're going for. Like, what happened here? What happened to the Lorax? Who is the Lorax? That's the whole point of the story here. So, in the beginning, you're kind of wondering what happened. So, this beginning is sort of dark in that way. It's sort of the beginning of Wall-E, too, where you just don't see, or you see dust and all that kind of stuff. And that's why you have to make sure you take care of the earth, or else it's going to look like this one day. Number 2, the Hunches. The Hunches, you probably don't know about these guys, but they are basically creatures with gloves on their heads. Or hands. Anyway, they are creatures that walk like that, and they're all having hunches. They all walk around, and hunch is like a think or a thing you think of, a hunch. So, the book is not that too dark, but the scene in Seussical is. Basically, during the scene of the Broadway show, Jojo Who gets lost in the woods. And when he does, he comes across these creatures called the henches. And they all kind of sound creepy. And it's kind of like they're leading him to his home because he got lost. But at the same time, they're telling him nightmares and such. And different things that come bump in the night. So it kind of scares Jojo out a little. So in a way, it's kind of a creepier sense of where you're lost in the woods. Kind of like Snow White or some Dorso scene or whatever. It's just kind of a creepy song to hear and a creepy little melody. Like, it's just a very, like, you're not, I mean, you know you're safe, but it's just things just not right about the whole thing. Number 1, Halloween is Grinch Night. Now, this one is very dark. I can't imagine how dark it must be for people. This is a Halloween Dr. Seuss story. So since the Grinch had a Christmas special, he also had a Halloween special. Did you know? So every now on Halloween, the Grinch comes out and sends a few ghosts on the Who's every now and then. And when he does, the Who's scurry off inside and not go outside at all, except for Ukariah who gets lost in the woods and accidentally gets outside when he comes across the Grinch. And he tells him that he's not afraid of anything until the Grinch brings out his box of scary monsters out. To save the Who's, Ukariah distracts the Grinch with all his characters to get them off the next year. So when the monsters come out, it's really creepy. There's like all different kinds of creatures that come out and scare Ukariah. It's like all different kinds, and it's really freaky to see them all. It's like it's kind of like the Heffalumps on Parade, but much worse. Like, none of them are the same. They're all different kinds. One's getting close to the face. One of them's like lighting up. One's kind of have long noses, like the plague. Ooh, I can't imagine what Dr. Seuss was thinking with this kind of stuff. It's just really as creepy to look at. It's only been known for your eyes only to see. And now, time for some honorable mentions. There are so many dark scenes in Dr. Seuss books. So if you guys have any suggestions on what I should talk about as a dark scene in Dr. Seuss, let me know in the comments below. But here are some honorable mentions. The Grinch That Stole Christmas. This one everybody knows about. I mean, but of course, it's really dark considering it's a Grinch stealing everybody's presents from the Who's. It's just a really scary, story. All the times that Horton's been in a cage. Man, I can't tell you how many times that Horton got well, captured. He was trying to be helpful to the Who's, and many times where he's also kind of helping out, well, his egg. And the hunters catch him. I can't say how many times this happens, but it's kind of dark when it comes to that. Horn's trying to be this good person, only gets his, like, ridiculed, and this is not great. All the places you'll go. This is not really too dark, but there's one part I like to talk about. There's one part in the book where they talk about how every now and then you'll fail, and every now and then your games will be wrong, which is also true in real life. So I guess doctors have to be more serious with people when it comes to that. But it's no joke. These things are going to happen in life, and it's cool that Dr. Seuss was able to portray that in in one of the most popular books of all time. All the banned books. I'm not going to talk about all the ones that are banned, but I'll talk about a few of them out there. If I Ran the Zoo, I think I see on Mulberry Street, all these books are great. They just have very rhymey-ish racist characters within the books. I don't think Dr. Seuss meant to be racist to any of these characters in the books at all. I think he was just trying to rhyme them the best way he could. Just some of them don't fly today, that's all. But for the most part, I think I kind of like all these banned books because they're just really awesome Dr. Seuss books. And if you have a chance, they're on YouTube. Please read a few of them. Listen to a recording version of them. You might like a few of them. The Sneetches. This one's a very interesting one. Now, everybody knows the Sneetches story, but no one really knows what the story is actually about. Well, I'll tell you. One Sneetch has stars on their bellies. One has none. The two groups are against each other. So, the people who have stars on their bellies get to sit and eat marshmallows in the fire and party all night long, while the other Sneetches that don't have stars, well, they sit alone, not part of the party at all, in the dark, which is very kind of sad when you think about it. They're kind of lonely there. They won't let them party with them because they don't have stars on their bellies. But then some man comes up to them and tells them you want to have stars, you can go to my machine and get stars. So they switch up and chaos happens, such things like that. Later, the Sneetches realized that it didn't matter if they had stars in their bellies or not. They were all Sneetches that didn't matter at all. Well, you probably guess what this story is all about. Racism. Yeah, I think the Sneetches with no stars are supposed to be blacks, and the ones with the stars are supposed to be whites. So you can definitely tell where Dr. Seuss got this idea from. So it's all about racism and segregation. So they learned in the end that it didn't really matter. So for this reason, this story is very sentimental and very dark in a way for bringing up such a serious topic for Dr. Seuss. He brought it in such an amazing way. And that's what I like about Dr. Seuss. He brings out all these dark, like, serious, like situations, issues, and bring them into a light story that a kid would understand in a good way, making them a good person as can be. All these stories are great to show kids. So if you got a chance, please read all of these books and listen to recordings. And if you don't remember some of them, read them again because they're just so good. I forget some of them all the time, and it's worth listening to all of these great books. They're all on YouTube. I'm sure you can find a book version of them if you want, but they're mostly recordings. There's mostly read-alongs on YouTube. You can mostly find them all on there. But for the most part, thank you for working on this journey with me about darker Dr. Seuss stories. They're just wonderful, and I hope you get a chance to read them because you'll finally realize how wise Dr. Seuss truly is. Bye! And hopefully you'll come see me in Seussical if you're in Wayne, New Jersey. Bye!